seconds later, I'm dead. And it's
Yep.
wonderful, man. It's wonderful. All right. So what do we got here? It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 units of Ungor Spearman Herd with shields. Note that he has taken a veterancy on these guys between 2 and 3 pips. Very, very key if you want these guys to hold any kind of a line. Right next to them, he's got 3 units of Gore Herd with shield. Across from them, it'll be 2 units of Centigore with throwing axes. Now, further up on the line here, maybe picketing the enemy is going to be 2 units of Ungor Raiders. Of course, the enemy being incredibly far away, not going to get a chance to fire anytime soon. We're also going to see a little bit of hidden power, some real meat in the form of these Minotaurs here. Minotaurs will be bringing the great weapons, as would be expected against the likes of those filthy Bretonnians. A single Cygor is standing here in the middle of the field looking strong. This guy will be a regiment of renowned Cygor, but he still only has 1 eye, which is unfortunate. No depth perception there. He's got Warp Gaze as well as Soul Eater, and of course he terrifies everybody around him. The leadership, as one might expect from our man Scrible here, is pretty low-key. He doesn't have any Gorbel this time, but he still does have Malagor the Dark Omen. Malagor the Dark Omen, totally cheap and no, he's got some stuff. Scribble changing it up here, bringing Arcane Conduit as well as, well, what do you know? Savage Dominion. I am excited to see that spell back again. But that's it, man. That's all he's got. What do we have for our cheerful Bretonnian fellows in blue? Or I guess they're in red.
Wait, you got the Poison Warhounds, right? Did I miss that? Up on the west side of the battlefield?
I absolutely missed the Poison Warhounds. We do have 2 units of Poison Warhounds. Sneaky, sneaky.
Sneaky, sneaky. All right, now we have Bretonnia. So Bretonnia being brought by Crusader. He is going to have 2 units of Peasant Mob. He is then going to have 2 units of Men-at-Arms with Polearms, or make that 4 units of Men-at-Arms at Polearms, each ranked up to 5. He's going to have 2 Men-at-Arms, each ranked up once, backed up by a Grellery Quay. And my bad, make that 5 Men-at-Arms with Polearms, all ranked up to 5. Ranked up to 5. And then he's going to have 4 units of Peasant Bowmen behind this infantry force. And then over here in the trees, we have the Bretonnians we know and love being what appears to be 4 units of Knights in the Realm. I love it. Going with the cheap Knights of the Realm rather than opting for those expensive Grell Knights. Interesting choice indeed. Now we're going to see for the leadership squad here a Damsel of Life on foot, going to be bringing that regrowth as well as Earthblood, and also Power Stone and a Scroll of Shielding. Now over here up in the air, we are going to see none other than a Alberic de Berthelot. He's going to be flying around on top of his Griffin, doing a lot of good stuff for this team, and he's going to be bringing nothing but Foe Seeker. So let's see how this all breaks down.
We'll see it coming here. The Cygor is getting some nice shots off. Well, maybe not so nice. I mean, he's leaving 3 or 4 men bleeding behind him every time he shoots, and it's not so bad against these 5-pip veterancy men-at-arms with polearms, but he's definitely going to want that Cygor to not keep on edging these units, and there we go. There's a nice fat hit straight through the middle. The men-at-arms with polearms are starting to hurt now.
Mm-hmm.
He needs that second Cygor up here to do the damage in advance, though, man, because the second that these archers get into range, it's bye-bye Cygors.
Yep, exactly. Those Cygors need to get in here, but it looks like he's actually shifting focus with his Cygor now onto the Knights of the Realm, who are chasing down these pesky Warhounds, but they're not going to catch the Warhounds. So the Warhounds, being very well microed, pulling out, not going to take too much damage, going to get terrified off the field by Alberic. And now these Centaurs with throwing axes are coming in here, and they're going to start throwing down some hurt onto these Knights. Errant 2 will be very susceptible to their missile damage, and won't have enough speed to catch them.
So, I've almost never seen regular, just, bland-ass Warhounds on the field of battle, especially for the likes of the Beastmen. And this is the first time I've ever noticed this. These guys just look like little lions, like cute little lions with tusks.
Let me check this out. Also, I didn't realize these were just the regular ones. That's an interesting choice. I thought they were always going to have...
When have you ever seen the regular? It's always the ones with poison, right?
Exactly. I never see the regular ones, and... I don't know what kind of lions you're looking at, but I guess they have manes. But other than that, they kind of look like pig bat face to me.
No, man. Zoom all the way out. Get your debug camera, zoom all the way out, and just picture a lion in your mind. And then look at those little blips and say, yeah,
chat, can you guys help me? I mean, I had it zoomed in right on their beautiful smiling faces, and that looks like a pig bat with a lion-like body.
It'll appreciate beauty at a distance, see?
Oh, yes, I see. But no, from not the face, they look straight up like lions with little horns. I agree with you there. But man, that Cygor, look at that. Those peasant bowmen, both wavering. What the hell?
Look at this pile of blood, dude.
Oh my god, it's just disgusting. It's just all of these poor peasants just dead from giant rocks crushing them. And now we have the
here.
second Cygor coming into the battle here.
Here's the thing, though, man. Like, you know, I felt a little bad about the High Elves and the Dark Elves, right? The Black Art of Nagaron, you know, you live thousands of years, yada, 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 and you get shot down by some hell cannon. But these peasants, man, honestly, those few moments before their horrible deaths are probably better than their entire goddamn lives. At least then, they know they have some sort of purpose, some reason to live.
Exactly. Yeah, no, like right before that rock hits them in the face, they're like, man, at least I died for something.
Exactly that, man. I mean, would they rather be out there fucking farming radishes their entire lives? I think not.
No, I mean, I agree completely and wholeheartedly.
In the meantime, by the way, the Cygor is doing some very good damage against these Knights of the Realm. They're trying to get out of the way there, but those big rocks are big rocks, and they're hitting hard.
They are hitting hard, and these Knights of the Realm have been pretty much ineffective for this entire battle as this Cygor just continues to lay waste to these Bretonnian units. Like, how many kills does this bastard have? 141 and 60 on the other one already. Make that 64. This is disgusting.
It really is, man. I mean, that is exactly what it is. And you see right now, too, Crusader he's got to make some really difficult decisions. Does he turn these peasants around and shoot these ridiculously annoying Centaurs with throwing axes who are continually threatening his Knights of the Realm? Or does he shoot these peasants at this army that is running straight for him? Well, he's shooting at Ungor Herd with shields, and it's not doing that much, but what other choice does he have? It's tough, man. It's tough. And I feel like, you know, right now we see Crusader kind of frozen right now, not looking to charge, just trying to rely on these peasant bowmen to do the work, but all the while more effective counterfire coming from the Crusaders, coming from these Centaurs, and look at the position that he has, man.
I know, and the Ungor Raiders are firing it out too, and just look at the Bretonnians. There is no semblance of a formation anymore. And I think what we're seeing is what happens when you try to go infantry heavy with Bretonnia against Beastmen. The mobility is so far on the Beastmen's favor that you're going to want to bring more cav than this. And I know 4 units of cav seems like a lot, but for Bretonnia, that's not a lot of cav for Bretonnia. So I think right now we're just kind of seeing what happens when you have a heavy infantry force that's just going to get torn apart by this Beastman army. So I don't know. It's looking bleak. We'll see if Crusader can pull it back. He's definitely come back from darker circumstances than this from what I've seen today. But yeah.
And you know, I think one of those, you know, one of those, the kind of the barometer for how the game is going when you're the Bretonnians. By the way, Bretonnians getting some very, very good shots on the Minotaurs, the great weapons back here, and that is an important target. But I feel like, you know, something like the kind of a litmus test for how well you're doing in the battle. If your Bretonnia is, you know, 6 minutes in, are the enemy archers dead? Because if they're not, something is wrong.
Yep. And yeah. No, sorry. Keep on going.
No, I mean, that's it, man. Something is terribly, terribly wrong. And these peasants, look how damaged they are. Only now have the Ungor Raiders started to get some damage put on them. And yeah, they will fall incredibly quickly. But the Ungors did get a lot of free shots in there. They're getting some free shots in Elberich to Bordelot right now. And that rearguard action is, I think, is just complicating Crusader's game plan.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think right now what we're seeing is like the Knights of the Realm have done nothing this fight. And I'm not trying to be harsh here, but like they needed to be on top of the Gore Herd. They needed to be on top of the archers. But right now, they're all basically dead from Cygor shots. Even if he had all 4 full health Knights of the Realm, Knights Errant left on the field, I do not think they would survive. I mean, the Knights of the Realm, sorry, I was right the first time, against 2 Minotaurs with great weapons. And right now, both Minotaurs with great weapons are still full health. And that alone is going to spell disaster, because these Minotaurs with great weapons, I imagine, are going to charge under the Scribe, really kill it as quickly as possible, and then just use all of their cheap fodder infantry like the Ungor Spearmen and stuff to deal with these Men-at-Arms with polearms, because really the Men-at-Arms with polearms are the only thing Bretonnia has that can deal with these Minotaurs with great weapons. But since they don't have the mobility to catch them, as you can see right now, Scribble's just saying, no, I'm not going to pull in my Minotaurs with great weapons. I'm going to keep them back here. I'm winning the battle without them, and then whenever I need them, I'm going to use them. So right now, the fact that there's 2 full health Minotaurs with great weapons, I think, should really, really scare Crusader.
And that's, you know, I got to mention, that is an uncommon patience to be able to sit there in the back with these damn Minotaur and not put them into the battle. That in itself is something special. It takes a lot of willpower to see your army get crushed around you and still keep these guys until the Knights of the Realm come in. But I will say, now that the rear area is more or less cleaned up here, it's looking better for the Bretonnians. It's not looking like a win, but it's looking better.
It definitely is looking much better, and I never want to discount Crusader here. He still has the tools to win this. He has the Grell Relique, which will prevent them from getting any terror routes, which is really important for these polearms to stay together. And he still has quite a lot of healthy polearms and a few healthy archers who have decent amounts of ammunition left. So we will see what he can do, but I mean, it's just, to me, these Minotaurs are great weapons. Now who are on top of Alberic de Berthelot, it's going to be a very dangerous position to be in. But we see the Damsel of Life looking like they're probably going to be throwing down an Earthblood or a Regrowth on top of him. A Regrowth going down on top of Alberic, going to bring him back to full health. So I think right now what we need to see from Scribble, if he wants to win this, is he's got to finish taking out these Knights of the Realm. But then most importantly, he needs to kill that Grell Relique. So the Grell Relique is going to be the only thing keeping the Bretonnians together.
Yeah, man, and you know right now he's running out of useful troops. He still has the Minotaurs, don't get me wrong, right? They're very, very good. But in terms of the chaff troops, right? In terms of the troops that could, take bullets, take damage, tank for these Minotaurs, they're damn near gone. He's got next to nothing. Now he's relying almost only on Centaur, Minotaur, and Cygor. It's a monster mash right now, and well, we'll see if the monsters prevail today, or if it's the spirit of humanity, man, the flame of human bravery that pulls him out of this kind of dreadful situation.
Exactly. And I mean, right now it's just, I think I'm disagreeing with some of the prioritization choices coming from Scribble here in the later part of the game. Now his Minotaurs are great weapons, charge onto these peasant bowmen, but they got rear charged by Knights of the Realm and Alberic, and there's Men-at-Arms of Polearms here, and not only that, the Grell Relique is right next to him. And unless that Grell Relique is taken care of, I can't stress enough that these Minotaurs and other people are not going to be able to break these Men-at-Arms of Polearms. And the Men-at-Arms of Polearms are just being allowed to do so much nasty work as these Minotaurs keep on charging through them and getting a lot of damage. And just like that, one Minotaur with great weapons is basically dead, and the other one is super low in health, charging into those archers again. Why send the Minotaurs with great weapons against archers when you can just send the Poison Warhound or the Warhounds in against the archers like he just did?
And we do have some development there as well, though, so that was certainly a questionable decision to send that lonely unit of Minotaurs in there. But despite that, we still had a unit of Men-at-Arms of Polearms get routed off the field. Peasant Bowmen also get routed off. Allows our Beastman player to kind of restructure where he's focusing his forces. Unfortunately, that also allowed that mob of Bretonnian heroism to come down in here and isolate that second unit of Minotaurs, and the Centaur are going to have to charge in there. They can't do great damage, but they got to charge in there anyway.
Yeah.
All of the Beastmen got to get in there now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because we'll see a lot of routing on both sides coming in there, but like you were saying, it's the chaff units, it's those meat shields on Bretonnia that are winning them this battle. And in spite of the patience we saw with those Minotaurs with great weapons, it just looked like they ran out of patience and started making questionable decisions with where they were charging into that Bretonnian army. So, yeah, I mean, it was a shame. I thought the Beastmen had it in the bag there, 215 kills on that damn Cygor. But yeah, it just in the end, Crusader pulled it back. Very well played.
He really did, man. He really did. And if I were to kind of just think about the moments here and maybe lock down one that really we started seeing the Minotaur's reserves kind of flipping on Scribble and his plans was basically just when we were talking about how well he was reserving his Minotaurs, right? Like, us talking about that was basically a cue for Scribble to use the Minotaurs. He's you've saved them so perfectly up until now. Like, this is the perfect time. Use the Minotaurs. But he still kept them in reserve and in the back for another, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? They're getting shot up by arrows the whole time. Still hasn't figured out where he wants to dive them in. And then when he finally does dive them, he doesn't dive them in because of it's his choice. He dives them in out of a matter of necessity to try to save some of his Centaur. Doesn't work out. Minotaur get thrown away. Now he only has one unit of Minotaur. They die too. Boom. There's the game. Exactly.
And you hit the nail on the head there. Like, basically, those extra minutes that he delayed in sending the Minotaurs in was what allowed Bretonnia to wipe up the rest of the meat shield units, the Gore herd, the Ungor herd, the Ungor raiders. If he would have had those units still in play when the Minotaurs came charging through, that's where Minotaurs excel. That's where they shine, is when they charge through the back of an Ungor spearman, have that meat shield to support them, and then they just start dishing out damage. But by the time he sent them in there, they were unsupported and by themselves and just got surrounded.
100%, man. That's exactly the way it goes. Minotaurs and Cryptors, right? They're very, very similar in the roles that they play. Cryptor more anti-infantry, Minotaurs a little bit more anti-large. But when it comes down to it, you Cryptors never really want to be charging unless they're charging through their own skeletons, right? That's just kind of how it works. That's how you want to do that. You want them to tank the damage because they do so much of it. And the Minotaurs, I feel like subconsciously, it seems less obvious that the Minotaurs can't just barrel into a unit themselves, right? They look tougher, they look meatier, and that charge is so goddamn magnificent that you want to charge them into them charge them in themselves.
Yeah.
But that's a trap, man. Like, that is a trap. And unfortunately here, Scribble, he fell into it.
Yeah, very unfortunate. And I mean, that's another thing is just, I don't care that they were held in reserve so long. It just seems strange to me that he wouldn't take away some of the points in this army, upgrade these Warhounds to poison, and then he could have very easily just sent these Warhounds with poison to chase down Knights of the Realm, slow them down, and then let the Minotaurs with great weapons finish them off. But
wait a second. I mean, Warhounds with poison are great and all, but what about the kind of moral victory you get with lions on your team?
It's a very good point. I didn't consider that. I feel stupid now.
I mean, if I were in some kind of Beastman army, man, if I saw a lion to my left and a lion to my right and they're on my team, I'm feeling pretty good about things. Whereas if I'm seeing these, like, weird, poisoned, like, these dogs are goddamn falling apart, I'm just thinking, shit, man, like, is the water supply okay at home? Like, what's going on? Why are these dogs all fucked up? I admire it, man. I admire his choice to go for non-poison Warhounds, but, all kidding aside, that's just really weird. That's a really weird decision.
It seems to me that he didn't have enough money for both of them at the end, but he had ranked up units. So that's the weird thing to me is, like, I'm pretty sure if he would have not ranked up those units, he would have had enough for poison Warhounds. And it just seems like not only the speed debuff that they provide, but the melee attack and defense debuff, like, you really want that poison. And that it's just strange to me that not once did I see an engagement where the Minotaurs were going after Knights of the Realm, when I think that's obviously what they needed to focus on first. Is, like, if you have Minotaurs with great weapons, your focus with them should be to get the mobility advantage, kill your enemy's large units, and then let your Minotaurs with great weapons as secondary targets go charging into peasant bowmen and stuff like that. But it's like the first time I saw them starting to engage, it was charging into peasant bowmen, which is not what they're going to be very good at killing. They'll kill them, but obviously a unit of Warhounds is much more efficient in terms of cost at dealing with peasant bowmen.
100% correct, man. Absolutely right there. And the poison is, I mean, I almost forget about the speed debuff when it comes to poison, because the melee attack, melee defense debuff is so damn important. When we think about back in the days of who are good ones? Let's say the very, very early Warhammer 1 battles with the orcs and goblins, right? Why did you always bring a unit of orc boar boys with a unit of spider riders? Well, because the spider riders had poison. The boar boys can't kill fucking shit.
Yep.
If poison isn't applied to their enemy, but if poison is applied to their enemies, the boar boys will absolutely demolish them on the charge. That is how important that poison is. And 75 gold, right? 75 gold. Don't get me wrong. I like the veterancy on the Ungors, because Ungors, they're like wet paper towels if they don't have some vet.
Yeah.
But the Gors, he could have taken the 4 pips off there to get that poison.
Exactly. And my other thing that I was confused too, because usually if I bring regular Ungor spearmen, I bring veterancy with them. But he had Ungor spearmen with shields, and that shield adds just enough defense to where I feel like even without ranks of veterancy, they're okay, just because that shield buffs their stats enough.
They don't die so fast that they just insta-run. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it was an interesting choice. I mean, because I still stand by my decision. I don't really like Crusader's army for Beastmen there. I mean, it worked, so proof's in the pudding. But I don't understand why you'd want to go infantry heavy against Beastmen, because I think that one was more so lost by Scribble than it was won by Crusader.
I think I have to agree with you there, man. The misplays were definitely what put Scribble down here.
Yeah, because up to, like, the first half of that battle, he was in a very commanding position. 210 kills on his Cygor. Yeah, people can argue it's just peasants, but he was killing men-at-arms with polearms and killed 2 units of peasant bowmen. Like, he was destroying things with that Cygor. And
he really was, yeah.
And there was a point there where Bretonia was just in complete disarray, and I feel like if he would have clamped the trap there, he probably could have gotten the route and taken it.
I think so too. Yeah. While the Knights of the Realm are running left and right trying to avoid goddamn Cygor bullets, in the meantime, you've got Counds in the back making sure that your opponent cannot pull his polearms away from the back and can't support the attacks in the front. There is that golden moment. The kind of like the golden moment we talked about with Crusader, right? You see an opportunity, you take it viciously without any prejudice whatsoever. Scribble, on the other hand, he didn't have that killer instinct there in that moment. He let it go on a little too long. And there's one thing that Beastmen don't do and that's going on too long. They don't do the attrition battle. Not anymore. Not
No.
without the double Gorbel, Tim and Jim potion era. You kill them quick, or you don't kill them at all.
Exactly. They're very much smash and grab faction, and it turned. I almost feel like his greatest strength in the beginning of the battle, which was patience, ended up being what undid him in the end. Was he didn't know when to take assertive action and actually move in for that decisive engagement. And as a result, the healing on top of Alberic, all of that stuff, like he was killing off so many units, but he never once I saw do a concerted effort to kill the Caster, the Grell Relique, or the Knights of the Realm. So I think that was just what did it.
Yeah, no, I think you're quite right there, man. You think you're quite right. Did lots of little bits of damage to very many things, but didn't really have that killing blow in there to finish the job. A little bit too much reticence to engage those reserves.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like now we're going to have Dark Elves versus Dawi. I think this is going to be a rough one for the Dwarfs. But
does this ever work for the Dwarves?
I don't know. I mean, it's like Dark Elves are known because they excel at killing armored factions. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how this goes.
So let's check some boxes here. Dark Elves are notoriously, or they're infamous or famous, I suppose, for demolishing armored factions. Check.
Yes.
Also famous for being incredibly mobile. Check. Having incredibly high mass cavalry.
Check.
Right? Check. Let's think about, those are just three, right? Let's think about the weaknesses of the dwarves. They typically can't outshoot a shooty army. It seems weird, but they typically can't. Don't know why. I think something to do with the armor and just the cost of missile units makes it untenable. They're really weak to mobility, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so there's another perfect counter. And then last but not least, the one thing that really fucks up a dwarf's day is a high mass cavalry unit, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better for the Dark Elves?
No, I mean, this is like their faction. And not only to mention that Crusader, one of his favorite units, and I hope I'm not giving it away, I can't see what is in his army, but one of his favorite units are Cold One Chariots. And those things can hide in the forest. Why? I don't fucking know. A Minotaur can't hide, but those ones can hide in the forest. They have armor-piercing melee attack, and they have armor-piercing missiles. So what that means is that's a unit that, in spite of the Dawi mass, which kind of makes people not want to bring chariots, those chariots are like made for Dawi. If gyrocopters come to try and kill them, their armor-piercing missiles can shoot down the gyrocopters. They can hide in the forest so they don't get shot by artillery. And knowing Crusader's playstyle, I'm very worried for what he's going to be facing against, because he's going to be facing a big Dark Elf army with the potential for a lot of chariots, because Crusader, whenever I've played him in almost any matchup, he brings those chariots, and I think they will do very, very well against the Dawi.
Oh, I mean, what we've seen from him, he's always brought the chariots. In the few games that I've seen from him in this particular tournament, chariots every single damn time while he picks these Dark Elves. I'm scared, man. I am scared for Scribble. I'm
scared too, and it's like one of the only things, and very good point, Revan Ninja, absolutely, is Rampage is like one of the only things that kind of like is a negation to Dark Elves. So like if those chariots, if those Cold One Knights start getting Rampage and they're on Slayers, then it's game over. But
also, Witch Elves totally fuck dwarves, dude.
That's
because
true.
The dwarves rampage, and it's just like, where are you going? No!
Yeah.
We have defensive geometry, you assholes. Where are you going? Oh, man.
Oh, Shabak, thank you for pointing that out. I didn't realize the Dawi mass had been... Because I know it got nerfed, but I've still had trouble pulling some of my chariots all the way through Dawi lines. But that's good to know. Can Giant Slayers help Dawi in this matchup now? I mean...
Yeah, because Dawi, I mean, I think when we talk about a unit like Giant Slayers, you take them for one reason, right? To kill large creatures. And so they will do extremely well at that. Dark Elves can bring some large creatures, but you don't have any, everything counters them, basically, except for large creatures.
I mean, just bring some Black Art Corsairs.
So it's, yes, you take them, but I think they're strong if you know who you're playing against, right? If you know what kind of army your opponent's taking, they're probably pretty good. But if not, they're a really, really, really fucking large point sink for an unarmored unit that doesn't do an appreciably large amount of damage. Like, I'd rather take hammers.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess we'll see. I mean, this is one of those things where, yeah, I mean, I'm going to stop talking about it and just see what he does, because I'm sure Scribble's a better dwarf player than either of us, so we'll see. Let me take
What are you talking about, man? I'm top 3 MA dwarf fucking...
Okay, man. Well, let's see here. Wait, were you blue or red? I can't even remember.
I'm on the blue side right now if you want to take red.
All right, go ahead. Knock out blue, my friend.
Alrighty, we have the blue Dowie here being brought today by Scribble. He brought the Beastmen in the last battle. Unfortunately, the Beastmen, despite a strong start, couldn't capitalize on their advantages. He's brought us, I suppose, 2 units of Iron Drakes with Troll Hammer torpedoes, 1, 2, 3 units of... What the hell? 3 units of Bugmen. Have these guys changed to actually be good?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the more popular ranged units for the Dowie because of the replenishment, so I see them quite often.
Well, I mean, he's got 3 units of Bugman's Rangers right there. Hopefully they do some good work. He's also got a single unit of Thunderers. 1 unit of Norgrimling's Ironbreakers as well. Going to be able to hold that center line into eternity. 3 units of Miners. They all have blasting charges, synergize incredibly well with Norgrimling's Ironbreakers, who, by the way, have their own blasting charges. And then, last but not least here, guys, we are going to see a unit of Dragonback Slayers, a unit of regular old-fashioned Slayers, and a unit of Dwarf Warriors. The leadership for this Dwarven army will consist of, looks like just 2 guys here. We're going to have 1 Runesmith. He's going to be rocking the... Well, let's take a quick look here, shall we? The Runesmith is going to be rocking the Hammer of Karak Draz. Gives minus 25% weapon damage and minus 44 melee attack for 50 seconds on a single unit. And then, of course, the Rune of Wrath and Ruin. You guys all know that. It just fucks shit up on a timer. We do have a Rune Lord also showing up here for Scribble, and only Wrath and Ruin for this guy, looking for that damage over time to kill what he probably thinks are going to be very expensive units coming from the Dark Elves. So that's the Dwarves. What do we have on the other side?
All right. Well, for the Dark Elves, we have some sneaky units deployed up here in the southeast of the map. Going to be 2 units of Doomfire Warlocks trying to get some nice rear charge action in there. We are then going to be seeing 3 Sisters of Slaughter, 2 on the left flank of the Dark Elves, 1 on the right flank. And then in the center, we're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4 units of Bleak Swords ranked up between 2 and 1 rank. And then we are going to have the Regiment Renowned Hargoneth Executioners, the Blades of the Blood Queen, who look absolutely beautiful. Going to be trying to get some good damage in. They're probably hoping they don't get killed by missile fire before they even show up. Then we are going to have 1 unit of those beautiful Cold One Chariots, going to bring that armor-piercing damage to the field. We are also going to be seeing for our leadership squad 1 Death Sorcerer, or Sorceress of Death, going to be bringing Fate of Buna Spirit Leech, as well as Darkstar Cloak and Life Leeching for her abilities. And then we are going to have the Crone herself on foot, going to be bringing with her the Gaze of Cain, as well as Amulet of Dark Fire, and that will be it. So here we go, getting into the battle now, and both people have very wide formations, and the Dowie are starting pretty far back in the map, not wanting to get into engagements right off the bat to let their range units do as much work.
Well, you know, we were talking about Rampage not too long ago, and Rampage... Ooh, these dwarves don't want to be rampaging right now, man. Their line is way too big. I mean, you get 1 dwarf unit rampaging at this point, you will never see them again as they run off into some random corner of the battlefield without enough time to come back.
Precisely. We're going to see some of those shots from the Bugman Rangers and Thunderers going into the Sorcerer, but the Sorcerer throws down that Fate of Buna right on top of Norgrim's Ironbreakers. Going to probably do a good bit of damage, but because of the magic resistance that a lot of dwarf units have, it probably won't be as significant as it would against other heavily armored infantry units. But right now, look at this. Sisters, the Doomfire Warlocks charging into the back of these Bugman's Rangers, doing a good rear charge, while the Sisters of Slaughter charge into the Dwarf Warriors ahead of them and are doing some good damage there. However, we're going to see these Dowie missile units doing a lot of good support and getting some good shots off into these Doomfire Warlocks as the Slayers try to close that gap.
And we're also seeing the Miners just absolutely devastating these Bleak Swords as they do try to come in. And by the way, I like that little bit of world building you did there. Apparently the Sisters of Slaughter are the sisters of the Doomfire Warlocks. That's really nice, man. That makes it almost like a family affair, this battlefield. In any case, it looks like the Sisters of Slaughter are really slaughtering these Dwarf Warriors, but they're not going to be able to for very long as the Bugman's Rangers continue to just pepper them with archer fire. Dwarf Warriors will eventually die, but not without, not without a couple of these Sisters of Slaughter being taken with them. And the Doomfire Warlocks, by the way, just burst straight into the front of Bugman's Rangers. Those guys, charge defense versus large, managed to hold on, and they're also going to beat these Doomfire Warlocks back for wherever.
That is rather impressive indeed. I mean, right now, looking across the battlefield, I see a lot of Dark Elves who are not enjoying life right now. I think the Dowie player's done a good job of tying down units in melee engagements while still keeping a lot of his missile units relatively free, but now we see these Doomfire Warlocks charging in, perhaps a bit too desperately. They're cutting down some of these units from firing, but they're also really overextending themselves and getting low on health. But the Cold One Chariots doing what they do best, which is just charging around these backlines. Crusader is so good at using them, and as long as he keeps them above that 50% health threshold, they shouldn't go into Rampage.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me want to vomit, man. These damn chariots are just running through absolutely everything, just smearing them all into paste. And, you know, as the dwarves, you really want your center to be immovable, right? You want that to be the immovable object, the rock, the stone. But unfortunately, when these chariots come onto the field, you gotta make different plans. And so now we're gonna see exactly how well Scribble can react to this malevolent force, basically just messing up his insides. And he's doing a good job so far. He's gotten most of his range units away from each other while still avoiding the dangerous bleak swords here. But all the while, these 4 range units aren't doing squat.
Yep. They are just sitting there uselessly, but I do want to point out, like, they're still... Sorry, say again?
I was going to say, like, they were running away, and the chariot wasn't even there at that point in time. That was the fear of the psychology. But the chariot is there now, and he's going to whip some ass.
He is, and all I know is, okay, torpedoes are actually getting some shots off. 1 volley from the Trollhammer torpedoes, and look at where these Cold One Knights are at. 3 models, but they're rampaging, and now they're probably going to die because they're not going to be cycle charging like they should because they're rampaging. So, very interesting. These Iron Drakes, the Trollhammer torpedoes are a very popular choice lately. And let's see then, they're going to shoot off 1 more volley into these chariots, and I'd be surprised if those chariots even survive that volley. Look at that, going down to very little health.
Very little health indeed. Yeah, man, it looks like despite the small unit size, the Iron Drakes have somehow, some way gotten a little durability for themselves, so they're sticking around a bit longer. But I sense a little bit of trouble here right now, man. A little bit of dark days might be coming here for the Dawi, as that big scrum, the big battle that we had here in the middle of Gaza Marathi, that weird red crap, we see the dwarves really only have a couple units left. They have this unit, this Rune Lord, they have these Dragonback Slayers, but everybody in this combat is incredibly quickly losing health, and I can't say for certain whether or not Crone Hellebrun is losing more health. It looks like she might just edge out this battle.
She may, she would definitely lose the combat against that Rune Lord in prolonged combat, but with the surround there, with all the Dark Elf troops in nearby, it was, yeah, too much to deal with.
Who the hell just won?
It was the Dark Elves, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't see that loss coming that quickly either. I thought there was longer into the battle. Did he concede defeat?
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. You want to make sure you refresh yourself, maybe go into this next game with a fresher state of mind. You know, it's chaotic, right? I think Crusader, the 2 players that we've seen really play with chaos and know what they're doing are Lotus Moon and Crusader. Lotus Moon probably more so than Lotus Moon more so than Crusader, but Crusader's no slouch. And when it got to that dirty, that infighting, that gutter fighting style, Scribble, his center had been burst open. He didn't have a frame of reference. Dwarves running right and left, and despite their stoutness, really couldn't take advantage of the chaos like these Dark Elves did.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, yeah, it was a good start for Scribble there. I thought he was doing better than he had any business doing in the beginning of that battle, but in the end, I think he really just overextended his range capabilities. Like, you know, that's having 6 units of ranged units, 2 Iron Drake Trollhammer torpedoes are very expensive, 3 Bugman's Rangers, and a Thunderer. Yeah, I think it was a diminishing return there. He needed a couple more infantry units and could have gotten rid of at least 1 Bugman's Ranger or a Thunderer. Like, I don't know why you want 2 Iron Drakes or Trollhammer torpedoes and a unit of Thunderers. I'd probably get one or the other, just because too many points being spent into his range units for this army.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I'd like to say, too, you know, we were talking before about the double castle, right? Typically, dwarves, unless you're intentionally double castling, you really never want to see more than 1 fight.
Yeah.
You want 1 fight happening, and that is it. And a big problem, right from the get-go, right? You and me were kind of curious. We're like, Jesus, Scribble is, like, spread the fuck out. He's spread as far out as these Dark Elves are.
Yeah.
In deployment. And that almost guarantees that you're going to have multiple fights. You're not going to have 1 fight where you can concentrate your Grumbling Guard, whether or not you took them, where you can concentrate your firepower and guard your center. If you have multiple battles, the dwarves just don't like that very much at all.
No.
At least not when they're planning it. And it didn't work out for them here.
Exactly. And I mean, I think the main reason, like, and it's pretty obvious, you don't want to be spread out and have those multiple battlefronts, as you're saying, is the dwarfs aren't fast enough to close the gaps to go support different battlefronts.
Yeah.
You know,
what do you do? You win 1 battle, then what?
Exactly. Like if you win one flank, chances are your other flank, if it's losing, you're not going to win that flank quick enough to come support the other one.
Exactly.
So
And if you were winning the other flank anyway, who gives a shit?
exactly, you know, and it's one of those things where like I get the idea of like you need to space out somewhat with Dowie because one thing people also do too much is box up. And then what happens is all you need to do is get a couple units and you shut down every single artillery and range piece that Dowie have and they're not firing anymore. So I understand the validity and the strategy of having to spread your units out, which creates a lot of avenues of fire for all those Dowie missiles.
Sure, sure.
But on the other end, you know, it's just like when you don't have the mobility, you see what happens. You see the Doomfire Warlocks charging into the rear. You see Dark Riders coming through. You see Chariots coming through. It's just, it doesn't go well.
Yeah, it does not go well, man. I'd have to agree with that. I also, Jesus, the Doomfire Warlocks, they look really cool.
Yeah, they do. They're really, really cool.
I've never seen them before. Again, in early Warhammer 2, they were basically not chosen. They're just too fragile, and the magic just wasn't there for them. Similar to the Sisters of Thorn, who couldn't cast their magic spells for like 2 minutes.
Wait, are you talking about Doomfire Warlocks?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Also,
they just barely got here this weekend, man.
well, that would explain a whole hell of a lot, because I'd never seen these bastards before, man. I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? Why have I not seen these guys in Warhammer 2? Like, what the hell? They're amazing.
Well, that's what I thought about the Bone Giant when I first saw it. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, Doomfire, they're just so cool. I love that animation. That fucking welding torch to the face. That's really cool. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. I mean, these have been some interesting battles, though, Safo. It's weird that Scribble has started so strong in both of these battles and lost both of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. And maybe he's letting the excitement get to him when he's starting to take that lead, especially because, you know, he's going up with a very good player, a guy who beat Soothsayer. So, I mean, I know if I started winning a battle against him, I would probably get excited and start making poor decisions. I wonder if that's what's happening. I mean, what do you think could be happening to where he has such strong starts in these battles and ends up losing him in the end?
Honestly, I hate to say it because I haven't been watching enough to know how much experience Scribble has. All I know is that I've known Crusader for longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And saying that, the way that I diagnose what's happening to Scribble is just a classic case of more experience on Crusader's side, right? Scribble's coming in here with armies that nobody fucking faces, right? He's coming in here with builds that nobody is particularly familiar with. He's coming in here with, you know, what's unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
What does that instantly give you? That gives you an advantage in the beginning of the game every time, right? If the opponent doesn't know what you're doing, they're going to have to react to your moves. If they have to react to your moves, you're more than likely going to be winning the first 3 to 4 minutes of the game while your opponent tries to figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage that Scribble gets. He gets the advantage because he's playing factions, he's playing styles that are maybe unfamiliar with these more experienced players. But why does he fall apart at the end? A question of experience. He can kind of ride the wave of his unorthodox choices about 3 to 5 minutes in the battle, where experience kicks in for Crusader, and he's like, okay, these are situations that I've been in before. This is a kind of chaos that I've weaved together before.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what he's drawing on to pull these wins out from what look like are losses in those first 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I almost feel like Scribble and myself are very opposite, not to drive myself into this, but just as an example, like I feel like I'm the polar opposite with Scribble, where I start out weak and I get better as battles go on because the late game is what I'm there for. I love the late game. I love gathering scraps of the remnants of my army and pulling them together and trying to make things work. Whereas Scribble, like you say, he brings the unexpected. He does a lot of damage early, and then in the end, it starts to fall apart. And I think exactly what you're saying. Crusaders experience the knowledge of those 1-to-1 engagements in the late games is really pulling it together for him, because I could just see, especially in the prioritization of targets, that Crusader is very on point, that when he is in the late game, he knows what units he needs to kill. And it seems like Scribble is having a hard time focusing on the units that are the most pivotal to take out. And as a result, it's just biting him in the ass.
Which is the difference between him and Lotus Moon, right? Lotus Moon was such a good matchup here for our other player, whose name I just suddenly forgot, Crusader. Lotus was such a good matchup against Crusader because he had that scalpel knowledge, right? He had the experience. He knew what he had to get rid of to make sure the game continued on in a way that favored him.
Exactly.
We'll see how it goes here, guys. We'll see how it goes, whether experience wins out here or whether that young blood, man, that fiery heart and soul of a newer player wins out in this matchup. So, would you like to take Beastman this time?
Sure thing, man. I love me some Beastman. So for our blue player, we have Scribble. Would you mind posting in the comments, too, telling him not to start the game until we say ready? They keep on doing that. Thanks, sir. But anyways, the Beastman army, we have the Warhorde of the Shadowgave being brought by Scrible. He has done some amazing thing with Beastmen so far in today's tournament. Let's see if he can do it here. This is match point 4 Crusader. We're going to have what appears to be 2 units of Ungor Raiders, 3 units of Ungor Spearmen, one of which will be the Destroyers of Drakwall, the regiment of renowned Ungor Spearmen who have that poison damage. He is then going to be bringing to the field what appears to be 1 unit of Chaos Warhounds with poison, backed up by the Sons of Goros, the regiment renowned Centaurs, with great weapons. He's going to have 2 Centaurs with throwing axes, 3 units of Bestigor, and then he is going to have 1 Razor Gore chariot, and then we are going to be moving on to the leadership squad, which is going to consist of a Bray Shaman of Wild up on top of that Gore Beast chariot, going to be bringing the Jagged Dagger for that extra Winds of Magic, and the Traderkin as his only spell, a direct damage spell that is quite good against single combatants. And then for his lord, we are going to have Morgor the Shadowgave, bringing with him nothing but his lovely summons. What do we have for the Dark Elf, Sappho?
Well, the Dark Elves got a pretty simple army, man, and I like these clean lines. Like, damn, this is like it's like a classic car, man. It's simple but good. So to see what we look at here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Blackheart Corsairs with hand bows. So the melee check, range check, kind of check. Then up here we have ourselves some cavalry as well. It's going to be 3 units of Doomfire Warlocks. As per usual, one of those Doomfire Warlocks will be the Regiment of Renown Slaneshi's Harvesters. Have a slightly different Doomfire bolt that goes down, a little bit of leeching for them. We do have 2 more units, by the way, here for the Dark Elves. Again, very, very clean force. It's just going to be 2 units of Cold One Knights. Neither of these guys will be the Regiments of Renown. One of them has 1 pip of veterancy. They are probably going to be the cleanup squad. Maybe a little bit of a surprise in the rear of these Beastmen should they get over-eager. Now, last but not least, it'll be Malekith himself looking to snatch victory here, that 3rd win for his Dark Elf forces. He's on this big-ass Black Dragon, of course, and his spells are Stand Your Ground, Gaze of Malice, Soul Stealer, Power of Darkness, and of course the Noxious Breath. He does decide to take the weapon this time around. He's got the Destroyer, and we'll see how well that works for him. He can certainly snipe out high leadership characters, but it remains to be seen whether our Beastman player will play into those hands.
Yeah, we will see. I know that Tormentor, or not Tormentor Sword, what is the Sword of Destruction that Malekith has? Always forget the name. Yeah, so Destroyer Sword. It's really good, and it's frustrating to play against because every time you go to cast something, you'll look down and realize, like, oh, my recharge rate for my powers has been increased because stupid Malekith is around. But, yeah, we'll see if it does enough. I mean, right now it's going to do a good job at negating the Bray Shaman's single entity damage spell, so we'll see if that's enough. But a Gaze of Malice going in there doing a nice little touch of damage to these Ungor Spearmen. It looks like they may have nerfed it, but it seems like it did a lot more damage before.
Yeah, I really thought that should have half health that unit. Whoa, well, there it is.
Well, yeah, there it is. He's like, no, we don't want to deal with these Ungor Spearmen with shields, so we'll just kill one of them off completely at the cost of a Gaze of Malice and a Breath, so good on him.
Yeah, man, go home, Ungor. You're not needed here anymore. You guys have had a bad day. Just go back home. We'll call you back later if this battle goes well for us. And already we're seeing some chaos in the Beastmen lines as they try to set their battle line to approach these Blackheart Corsairs, but the unholy amount of bolts raining down on them is not pretty.
No, not pretty at all. Those Blackheart Corsairs are a very tough unit for Beastmen. They're heavily armored, so you can't, like, counter them with Ungor Raiders. And they do a lot of damage with their missiles, especially these unarmored Beastmen units. And it's going to be tough for him to catch them. Like, this is where you want those Centaurs of great weapons who would excel at dealing with these Blackheart Corsairs. That is one thing I have been wondering here, is I like Centaurs of great weapons a lot against Dark Elves, and I have not seen any besides the Regiment Renown version here from Scrible. So, interesting choice. Gaze of Malice going down on top of those Bestigor, doing barely any damage, but knocking over a lot of units.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as to kind of talk a little bit about that, the Centaur dilemma, right? I think, ooh, here's a nice breath. Is it going to kill anybody? No, not really.
That's a shame. Yeah, you got to save those breaths for when they're in place. It seems like it always auto-targets to behind the units when they're running.
But you know, with the Centaur, right? I think that it basically comes down to the fear of flying dragons.
Yeah.
Flying dragons basically almost force you to take Centaur with throwing axes. And if you didn't take them, of course you take the Centaur with great weapons. But these goddamn dragons floating up in the air, you just can't take it. Raiders don't do a damn thing to them. And so you're basically forced to take the Centaur with throwing axes. And that it just discourages you from taking any more Centaur, right? Because Centaur, despite how awesome they look, despite how good they are in particular situations, they just aren't cost efficient if you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly, yeah, and that's the one thing, because I agree, the throwing axes are definitely one of the best ways to deal with the dragons, but the playstyle I usually opt for is I ignore the dragon. I don't throw axes at it, I just bring great weapons, focus on killing Cold One Knights, and then if the dragon lands, I deal with it then, because I don't really care too much if Malekith's in the air. It's when he's on the ground that I'm concerned. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely more than one way to skin a cat, and the Centaurs of throwing axes are one of the more popular ways to do it.
Oh, certainly, man. And I think, you know, the Centaurs are throwing axes have sort of the advantage of the kind of the plug-and-play thing, right? You sit them next to your line, and they're going to throw arrows at whoever's relevant. The range is short enough to where they're not wasting arrows on random assholes walking up towards them. And whenever Malekith come close to do that breath weapon, they are just locked and loaded and ready to go.
Yeah.
We see here, by the way, the Dark Elves are advancing, and the Beastmen, they just look at this pressure. They're just backing up, backing up, backing up. The Dark Elves are going to run out of ammunition. They
are, and I mean, I will give one thing to the Dark Elves. They've done a good job knocking out a lot of those Ungor Spearmen, but when you look at Scribble's lineup, the Black Orc Corsairs, when they're out of ammunition, need to be scared. 3 Bestigor Herd will chew through Black Orc Corsairs without any issue. And he also has some Chariots on the field, which will do a very good job at dealing with these highly armored Black Orc Corsairs as well, because what do they have, 80 armor? Yeah. So Bestigors should excel in that combat, and the Black Orc Corsairs ammunition is just not going to do enough damage against the heavy armor of the Bestigor.
Yeah, we can see here how long these guys have actually been firing down here. Maybe they're firing at the Raiders instead, yeah. Maybe they've switched their targets here, try to shoot the Raiders down. You know, these guys won't do the most damage, but over time will become annoying with those pinprick shots. Centaur is still moving back and forth, still harassing poor Malekith here. This guy's got about 3.5 axes in the back of his head. But he's going to be okay, man. He's going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now it looks like the Dark Elves are definitely setting the tempo for the battle, but I think it's a deceptive strength right now. You know, I think that the Dark Elves need to be very worried and cautious right now. There's a lot of stuff on the Beastman end that is just going to be very difficult to deal with. And look at those throwing axes. Look at the damage being done to them.
That's just a bad fucking day is what that is, dude. Like, you know, you're just crawling around on the ground, ringing axes left, right, and center. That is not a good time at all. And also, by the way, we talk about patience. You know, before patience kind of killed Scribble, I couldn't do this, dude. I couldn't just sit here and take goddamn arrows like this guy's doing. But it's working out in his advantage, I think, at least. He's soaking up so much damage with Moger.
No, completely agree, and this is where it's so important, is like right now, Crusader wants him to charge forward and start splitting up units. And I'm really impressed by Scribble's ability to stay patient and not fall into his hands. However, he does need to start doing a charge into these front lines, but the Cold One Knights are coming through first, and that's going to be bad news for these Bestigor who are not going to be prepared to deal with those charges, doing a ton of damage on the Bestigor on the far right flank, and then we're going to see, more than likely, the Black Orc Corsairs follow up after the Cold One Knight. So very good micro from Crusader there.
Very true, very true. We still have one unengaged unit of Beastmen Bestigors here. They're going to look to charge into these Black Orc Corsairs. Corsairs will stand and shoot, get one last volley of fire down there, and Malekith decides to join into the fray. He's got low health, but the Centaurs are throwing axes, are a little bit out of position. Here they come. They're coming close right now. I actually got a little worried by the Slaneshi Harvesters in the back, but they will be occupied by the Sons of Goros. The Sons of Goros? What the fuck? When did these guys get into the battle?
Oh yeah, that was the one Centaur, the great weapon he brought.
All right. Well, those guys are chewing the Doomfire Warlocks up right now. Slaneshi's Harvesters ain't got nothing on Goros' Sons.
Hell no, man. Those Goros' Sons are a very tough unit, and that Guardian ability is very nice to have with your leadership here. However, what we want to see is these throwing axes coming back, but the Doomfire Warlocks are doing a great job. One of the throwing axes already off and routing, and then we have the other one down to half health right now, so you need to get those guys back into combat if he wants to win. But look at this, the Goros, great weapons coming in here, getting on top of Malekith, and they should be able to hold him in place, but the infantry, the Black Orc Corsairs charging forward, trying to save Malekith. Will Malekith be able to get up by pulling through his own lines? It looks like it, but he is taking a lot of damage in return. And look at this, are we going to see a Traderkin going down on top of Malekith, debuffing his speed by 48% and adding a lot of damage?
Oh, this is it, man. The Chariot just going right on through these infantry. He's like the bow wave, man, allowing these Centaurs to push through the infantry as well. Here they come starting surrounding him. He needs to micro these guys badly. He cannot let this dragon get off the ground.
Nope.
If it does, his chances, well, they might be flying out the window.
It's true, but it looks like he's going to keep Malekith on the ground, and even if he doesn't, one more Traderkin, that's what he needs to get him down. But the Goros Heartrender staying on top of Malekith, doing so much good damage, and that's why Centaurs are so important in this matchup, in my opinion. They are the only thing you're going to use to hold these units down on the ground. They have a good amount of mass to keep them down, and look at this. Just some very good persistence coming in here from Scrible, sending his Poison Warhounds onto Malekith, and that's going to seal the fate of Malekith, I do believe. However, he needs to be careful that Bray Shaman. That Bray Shaman does not want to be sitting there facing the front end of Malekith right now.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about, man. This Bray Shaman's got to get a little glory himself. He's been sitting in the back all day mixing fucking potions, man. He wants to kill a motherfucker, and that's what he's doing right now. Malekith just about to die, and I gotta point out too, man, we saw one of the first few misplays here coming from Crusader, panics about Malekith dying, tries to pull out his Corsairs away from their combat with the Bestigors to help out. He doesn't help out, and the Corsairs actually get run down for their trouble.
Yeah, and look at this. Malekith turning it around. The Cold One Knight's getting a rear charge on top of those Bestigor, and now Malekith is alive. And the dangerous thing is he has a Soul Stealer, so he could heal back up if the opportunity arises.
That he does, man. And old Traderkin is no longer available unless that Bray Shaman of the Wild is running for the hills. Hopefully he comes back. Otherwise, I do think this spells doom for our happy Beastman player.
Well, he just came back. Lucky day for the Beastman, but now the Cold One Knights are looking to turn around and possibly focus on them. I mean, right now, there needs to be a lot of emphasis put on taking down this Bray Shaman of Wild. One more cast from him and it spells defeat. But look at this. Cold One Knight's charging into the Bestigor.
Oh, that hurts. Oh, and the noxious vomit is going to finish it off, man, right on top.
Oh, goodness.
His own Black Art Corsairs, as it happens.
That is rough. Crusader is just being so efficient right now. We didn't think he would have a chance to. Traderkin going down on top of Malekith. Will it be enough? I don't know. We're going to have to keep an eye on that damage. He's down to about 1,000 health, so he's getting low.
You can rely on the fact that Mogur is one buff son of a bitch. If he is what he's supposed to be, he's going to at least be able to take Malekith down. So Malekith takes a wise move here, actually flies up into the air. He doesn't want to fight this one-on-one battle against this beast of a beast. But unfortunately, I think that old Mogur has used up all of his summons, and so he's not giving anybody help.
Yeah, no, he already used his one summon, and I'm sure the automatic one already popped, but now Morgor, oh no, Morgor's going to start routing. And this is not looking good anymore. Morgor does have regeneration. We have some throwing axes coming back in here, but look at that. The Soul Stealer coming down to Malekith. And, man, just when we thought it, every single time, every single one of these battles, Scribble doing so well. And then Crusader just coming back and doing dirty, dirty things.
Truly, man. I mean, again, I am just amazed at how well the first 5 minutes played. Again, we mentioned it before, the patience of this player, the patience of our Beastman player Scribble is godlike, right? I can't even imagine how he sits in his seat while he waits for those Black Art Corsairs to expend their ammunition. But experience, man. I don't think that Scribble is exactly, he's not focusing as much as he maybe would want to win these battles. He's not following through with some of these attacks. He's got a great plan. Right? He's got a fantastic plan, like we were talking about in his previous series. But once his plan is expended, he's sitting there kind of holding his dick and thinking, okay, you're not dead yet. Now what?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's it's really interesting battles. I have to say, it's strange to me that literally almost to the same beat every single battle, Scribble comes out strong, stays patient, shows he's thinking thoughtfully about what he needs to do, and intelligently. And then in the last bit of the battle, Crusader just comes back and wins the day. And yeah, it's just, I think what we're seeing here is, I mean, I'm not super familiar with how long Scribble's been playing or not, but like clearly a very skilled player who perhaps just needs a bit more, you know, time in the game, get that his metal a bit better tempered, because the late game, it seems like he's just losing these battles. The early stages, he's doing crazy well, and the end stage is just not so well. It kind of feels like an old Hannibal complex, except it's just like he knows how to get those small victories, but he doesn't know how to, like, you know, what to do with them. And it's just so many opportunities where I just think he misses the opportunity to put the nail in the coffin, even though I think every single one of those battles he's had an opportunity to put the nail in the coffin of Crusader, which is more than I can say in any battle I've had against Crusader, which I think is a testament to how well Scribble played here, that he even came close to beating Crusader in all those battles.
100%, man. And I think, you know, you chose a particular word here to use when you're talking about what Scribble needs here to develop his play, and it's tempering, right? That is exactly the right word here, because, you know, he is the blade, right? He's well shaped, he's well forged, he's got that nice design, he's got that cutting edge when it counts. But the fact of the matter is he can use that cutting edge once before it's dulled into nothing. And then again, like I said, he just caught not knowing exactly what to do. That tempering a little bit of time here in the fires of those Warhammer 2 tournaments, I am absolutely certain will put Scribble on the very, very top, easily top 5. I mean, just he's got good everything, more or less, man.
Yeah.
Like,
he just needs to make it more consistent, but good everything.
Exactly, man.
No, but like awesome games. I want to give a shout out to both of them. That was a great series, and even though it was 3-0 in favor of Crusader, I think that is a misleading score compared to how quality those battles were.
You know, I mean, really, man. You know, I think that Crusader certainly deserved that first place. He played some damn hard-fought battles against Lotus Moon, against Scribble, but when it comes down to it, he deserves it.
Definitely.
But don't let that think that you know that Scribble is far behind, man. He deserves that second place just as much as Crusader deserves that first.
Most
Great
certainly.
battles from the both of them, and I really hope I see them again.
Yeah, no, same here. And Safo, just say everybody in chat saying thank you for casting everything.